Welcome to the Experimentation Edge, where product managers, data scientists, and engineers talk about how they make smarter decisions. I'm Ashley Stirrup, the Chief Marketing Officer for GrowthBook, and in each episode, I'll sit down with an executive to unpack how they use experimentation and A/B testing to make better decisions. This show is sponsored by GrowthBook, the open source experimentation platform leader. Now let's jump in and get started with our next guest. Thank you for joining us on the Experimentation Edge. We're excited to have Charles Williams, Senior Vice President and Software Engineering Director at Truist. Charles, welcome to the show.
Hey, glad to be here, Ashley. Thank you.
Could you tell us a little bit about Truist and your role there?
So Truist is a financial institute, a very large super regional bank that was a merger of BB&T and SunTrust Bank, happened around, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago. My role there right now is focused on developer experience, which has a lot to do with whether it's onboarding policies and processes or automation needs. So I focus on helping facilitate the improvement of that developer experience.
Got it. And are there some kind of key strategic initiatives going on at Truist these days?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of folks in the industry and across multiple industries, artificial intelligence is obviously key. Move faster and more efficiently, and help folks get stuff through the pipelines and get things up to the consumer. So yeah, I think artificial intelligence is the key thing.
Yeah, such a common trend.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things with that is just as you see developer productivity increasing, it obviously puts pressure on every other step in the whole development process, particularly if you're building on top of AI, then maybe doing evals or doing A/B testing once it's live. Are you working on things that kind of focus on that kind of the quality of the code aspect of it?
A little bit. So when it comes to the quality, what I'm trying to do, my team in particular, we're wanting to put the tools needed to uh, uh, I guess, know that quality is seen first or left of the pipeline, if you will. So put it in the developer's hands. So give them the ability to not have to rely on a human touch for quality, but more like automation. So we're working with a bunch of different platforms, and you're right,
Yeah.
as you said before, you only as fast as your slowest point of the pipe of the flow, right?
Right. Yeah. And so are there certain metrics that you track to see if like the teams you're enabling are performing or they're delivering a good customer experience? Like how do you measure success?
Yeah, success is measured in a couple ways, right? So you've got the folks out there would know what the DORA metrics are, right? So that's your DevOps metrics that are standard as far as throughput and turnover time, onboarding, and so forth. But we also want to measure satisfaction from just a happiness perspective. And then it's going to sound weird, but developers aren't just necessarily satisfied because they're moving faster. They have the tools that enable them, right? They're happy with what the work they do, and they're not doing mundane work that takes away from their core development needs, right? Or core development likes is I want to code as a developer. So we measure that as well. And that's usually done through surveys and sentiment and things like that. But we do measure these classic stuff as far as code quality, coverage, and throughput as you onboard into a pipeline, for example.
Yeah. And how does Truist think about technology as far as like a differentiator in the marketplace and trying to win more customers?
Yeah, I mean, you can publicly find like our CIO speaking on LinkedIn and things like that, where technology is definitely a partner to the business operations, right? So
Yes.
there's no doubt, and I don't think any fintech organization on the planet would say anything differently, but we're right in line.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I would imagine that it's such a key area of differentiation for the company. Like the better your app and your web experience, the happier your customers are.
Right. And the key thing and this kind of speaks against what we're generally talking about, but it partners with it, is the technology is there, but understanding the impacts of that technology to your business operations and being able to have the KPIs backwards to say, if I build faster and I deliver products and services sooner, then the business can make changes to the business structures and models in order to satisfy the needs of the consumers. So all that is one thread that we have to maintain, not just as us as Truist, but any bank or any facility, I think, in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's pretty interesting as far as AI goes, because, there's a lot of industries where, a few mistakes from the LLM, no big deal.
Right.
But
Right.
I would imagine in your business, failure is not an option.
No, and that's why we haven't removed the human in the loop component to AI, right? So if I'm an AI, well, I'm saying if I'm a developer using AI as a companion, I can tell it based on a business requirement, a feature, write this set of code, right? And before you commit it, I'm going to overview it. So we're not
Yeah.
autonomously just let AI go out there and
Right,
do it
right,
thing.
right, right. Yeah, I would also imagine that you've probably got a human in the loop in like the customer experience a lot too. So you're making sure that somebody's ensuring that, yes, that is the right answer before it actually gets given to the customer. And
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that side, like what I work on is it's a little bit of the back end processes, but yeah, as far as a human consumer facing AI and all the services we have there, absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Are there any interesting trends you're seeing in terms of new technology? Like, is customer service more of a focus with AI for banking, or kind of how's the business thinking about where the biggest opportunities are to apply it?
Yeah, I think from what's publicly been talked about, right? Obviously, I can't share anything that's not obviously
Sure, of
public, of
course.
course. The custom experience is definitely a focus for the AI initiatives because the quicker we can get answers to problems or known issues, the better obviously the experience would be. Same thing with internal processes. The quicker we can get past to resolution, the faster folks can operate.
Yeah. Yeah. And so is that kind of one of the dimensions you think about is like how are you enabling your branches to be able to deliver better service with, fewer people and things like that?
Yeah, yeah. I think our model and what I've heard our leadership say is that it's not necessarily taking folks out of branches; is making branches more efficient, right, more
Right.
effective, right. So we're
Yeah.
not replacing bodies; we're enhancing experiences. Is I think how you would want to word that. We would want to word that rather.
Yeah, for sure. It opens up all sorts of new opportunities to deliver just a better experience. So hopefully that leads to more revenue per branch or maybe more assets under management. I guess is
Yeah,
probably a metric you look at more. Yeah.
yeah. I think as a business, that's obviously as any banking business would, financial industry will look at that. So
Yeah.
we are no different.
Yeah. And as you're evaluating new technology to enable your developers,
Mhm.
how do you kind of test those and, just get the right feedback to make sure, yes, this is something I want to put into the developer supply chain?
Yeah, it starts with the understanding the developer's journey and understanding the personas and what you're looking to improve, right? So
Hmm.
it's a matter of where are the pain points, what are the redundant repetitive tasks that they have to do, and what are they telling us the pain is? We know there are some pains somewhere; those are known to, but then what is developers telling us? So we start there and experiment with the low hanging fruit, as the nomenclature goes. Is for example unit testing or documentation. That's an easy one. That's a very easy one. How well can it do that? So let's start with something very simple. How well can you tell me about my project? How well do you know, help me with this error that I'm seeing in my security logs? Things like that we start with.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And are there certain vendors you're really partnering with on the AI side? Like, are you working with one of the LLMs in particular, or Microsoft and kind of a broader stack?
Yeah, I would say so. We definitely have a partnership with Microsoft. From the
Hmm.
developer perspective, we're not necessarily using their tooling for that, although
Hmm.
we have Microsoft Copilot in house. We are
Yeah.
partnered with publicly partnering with GitLab as
Oh,
on our
okay.
developer side. So we're
Yeah.
we're we're rolling out and testing and demoing their Duo, their developer agentic platform.
Got it. Yeah, because I would imagine in your line of work, like the level of trust with your technology partners needs to be really high, just because you're
Yes.
dealing with people's money. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And a good thing from my perspective is what I'm doing that and the AI influences don't touch the money. It's
Right.
more of the
Got it.
applications and things like that. So
Yeah.
but definitely it's still important. And the way it's used, like it's not one single model, right? So
Hmm.
the way GitLab functions is there are almost like an AI gateway. So there's multiple models based on your needs that can be invoked if need be.
Yeah, that makes sense. And are you kind of measuring like utilization of AI across your developer teams?
Yeah, so we're starting to do that actually. We're starting to figure out not only just consumption of who's actually using it, what are they using it for, and the four main categories around the key things that everyone's measuring, right? Code suggestions, code quality reviews, security flags, and use case documentation. So like unit testing, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I'm hearing is really transformational. I guess they call them Ralph loops, where you're not only having the AI build the code, but actually do the testing as well, and then identifying issues and fixing those, so that by the time it gets back to the developer, you've got much more production ready code than you would have, just a few months ago.
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
that
we have examples where I've heard developers say, I've written 25,000 lines of code, 10,000 lines of that was unit testing, right? It's just
yeah,
like it was what the developers are learning is that not only you don't need to get rid of your development skill sets, but you add on prompt engineering. So that's
right.
the other thing, right? It's learning how to prompt and letting the AI do its work and then
Yeah.
coming back and be the oversight.
Yeah, it's almost like every developer is now a manager too.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
managing your AI agents, right? Your AI
that's
agents are
right.
your employees. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so it must be an exciting time to see how those teams are becoming so much more productive and, capable of doing so much more.
Yeah, they are super excited, almost like the floodgates. We started this whole process. It was mid last year. We really started getting heavy into it, and we were intentionally being purposeful about the beta test group and so forth, and moving it through. And when Win got out, it would just became like an explosion of interest.
Yeah.
Excited is I don't even think is completely captures what I'm seeing
Yeah.
in the business.
Well, that's really good to hear because, you always worry about kind of more traditional businesses, maybe not a software company, being, maybe a little more like resistant to change, but it sounds like your teams are really embracing it.
Yeah, and I think that'd be the differentiator between us and any other in our industry is like, if you do not embrace this, you will get passed.
Yeah.
I think that's a simple way of looking at it for us.
Yeah. And with so much change going on in the industry, how are you like staying up to date and deciding what to try next and what's safe to include and what like, oh, maybe we'll give that one a little more time to bake.
Right. Well, I don't sleep a lot. No, uh, no, but you have to build in your guardrails and you build in your governance models and things like that in order to help. So we do have a verbose team of steering committee around AI technologies. We have our EA team involved. So it's not a Charles just doing it. It is my AI working group, my steering committee, the enterprise architect. So this is a entire business initiative. It's not just one initiative. So I may think something is really cool or some element to whatever pick one feature, but
hmm
that may be a hidden, you know, Trojan horse into something that EA found a while ago. So it's always
Yeah.
best, and what my team needs to do and has been doing is making sure we go around the horn to all our stakeholders to be sure that what we're bringing in makes sense and everyone agrees on it.
Yeah. And so are you tasking some people with like, this is now your job to go evaluate AI, or is it something that everybody's taking on and then as they find things, they bring it back to the larger team?
So what Truist has done is kind of a little bit of a hybrid of both of those. As team creates use cases for AI, what they're doing is saying, let's hear your AI story, let's hear your use case, and then we'll evaluate it against our current AI approved and what's already down the roadmap. Well, we don't want to have duplicative AI instances, right? It's okay to have an AI ecosystem, but its fit and purpose needs to be exact. Like Copilot would be productivity and use cases, right? But then GitLab could be your developer. So, and then there's another AI just built and driven for consumer facing, right? So we've got to figure out that. So when folks have ideas, they come to the steering committee, present their case, and then it's processed through appropriately.
Yeah. Yeah. There must be no shortage of ideas. And so then it becomes like, how do you pick? Right.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
yeah, and we're look, we're in the learning stage in this, right? It is how you
Yeah.
pick. Like no one's I have not seen anyone who's got it down unless you're just completely involved in one ecosystem. Like if you're just doing
Yeah.
the Microsoft ecosystem, then you know how to you know what's to pick, right?
Yeah.
but we're still learning. We're still in our learning process.
Yeah. And speaking of that learning, AI always, the demo always looks so great, right? And
Yes.
then, you use it and like the seventh time, suddenly it's lost track of what you talked about the first time or what have you.
Yes. Yes.
So have you had some of those learning moments when you thought, oh, this is going to really work? And then as you started to do the pilot, you're like, this one's not quite ready for prime time.
I have actually. I've experienced it directly myself, where the context limitations. I hit the context limitation on my prompt or my session rather, and
Hmm.
thinking, "Ooh, I really needed to continue doing this." And I was trying to build an application to pull metrics for something or another, and it just died. It just stopped. So wait a minute,
Wow.
this is supposed to be one of my these custom, well, these stock agents that they had, and it would
Yeah.
not. They just couldn't do it. So I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah.
maybe this is not quite. This agent is not quite ready for prime time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and the amazing thing is, you wait 2 months and suddenly that agent that
Yeah,
wasn't ready is now ready.
right.
And so it's not like you can just say, oh, AI is ready for this and not ready for that, because it's improving so quickly.
Yeah, it is a
Uh,
matter of just wait because we spoke to our vendors, and I think every release that happens, I think every 2 or 3 weeks, there's a new addition, there's a new prompt change, there's a new something. So yeah, it's fast paced. It's probably the most exponential growth I've seen in technology in my entire 35 years of being in IT.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how are you investing in your people to help them stay on top of all this? I'm sure they are all worried about falling behind and, eager to adopt it, but also not always sure like what to do first. So how do you help them in terms of that, development?
I start with I had a mentor tell me once, two couple of years ago that really reinforced it with me is AI is not taking your job. The person who knows how to use AI, that person is the one's taking your job. So
Right.
I reinstill that in the team is embrace it, learn it. I'm not asking folks to become AI engineers necessarily and understand how to build an LM themselves, but understand your function and day to day and how it can aid you in that. So if you can do things faster, that means you can do more things with the same amount of hours. That's what leadership is looking for. They're not looking for you to
Yeah.
be AI expert. They're looking for you to leverage the tool in order to accomplish your role. Yeah, that's why I try to instill in my team.
Yeah. Yeah. I know the challenge for me and my team in marketing is there's so many great stories.
Right.
And so you always feel like you're behind.
Right.
And so you always want to be doing more, but you've got a day job too. And
Yeah.
so it's like, am I really going to carve out the time to do this thing that might 10x this one part of my job, or it might be a huge time suck? And so I'm sure your teams are struggling with those kinds of challenges as well.
Yeah, because my team's understanding and learning just prompt engineering and figuring out and I had someone on my team say, this is going to replace, I don't need to learn to code. And I said, well, if you have a passion for coding, then stay on your passion. This will help you understand it faster and understand some of the nuances in your logic that it'll help you get past that where you're struggling and maybe you're using way too many lines and it's doing it more efficiently. You want to learn that, right? And that makes you
Yeah.
more valuable quicker to the business.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, also, at least today, humans can kind of see further down the road and probably have that bigger context on where you're trying
Yes.
to go. And
Yes.
so you need to be guiding the coding agents to your longer term vision so that, you're not doing something that works short term, but isn't going to enable your long term goals.
Yeah.
So,
And like I said,
yeah.
spoke about the context is I was on a meeting today and one of my power users said, yeah, I asked AI, it wasn't even the one we're using. He was talking about a home thing. I asked it 5 different times, the same question. They gave me 5 different answers. So he
Yeah.
said, but we have to guide it and let it know and make sure because we have to keep the context in the bigger picture so it understands and it can help us versus taking over for us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because it's so easy to get really confident in AI because it's doing something so well. And then you can ask it a very simple question like, how many points did Steph Curry score last night? And
Right.
give you some answer. You're like, where did you get that? So
Right.
it can be a little bit of a scary reminder that, okay, I can trust AI, but trust but verify. So
I'll say this. So I had it today. I asked AI to help me write an HTML application to do something, right? And it did it. It wrote beautiful lines of code and it did everything. I got the HTML, but it didn't work. So it told me, oh, I know. It literally said, I know what the problem is. You're not running this. You're running it locally. You need to run it from your public folder. Great. I will move it there for you, Charles. Great. Hit accept, go do the go do the merge. It did everything and said, okay, you're fine now. And I went to look at public. It wasn't there. I was like, did you move it? Yes, I did. No, you didn't. It was literally arguing
yeah,
with me. So it's not always, like you said, trust but verify. Absolutely.
yes, yeah, yeah. And then it realizes, oh, actually, I moved it to this other folder.
Right. Like, no,
Yeah.
you
And
didn't.
so, as you're looking down the road in financial services, where do you think the biggest innovations will come around AI? Is it on the customer service side? Are there certain product offerings that you think, like I would guess maybe processing loan applications, things like that, that you might be able to get a lot quicker at?
Yeah, and I would speak from that. I'm going to speak from a consumer side voice
Hmm.
and saying that, yes, that would be the biggest leaps as far as helping me process and helping me understand the choices that I have available to me for wealth management or insurance or whatever. Like, so
Yeah.
now you're not just talking to me about one product. You can talk to me and understand context of my family and give me a wealth of products in order to identify the best route for me for my financial future. Now, the caveat there, which I think everyone knows, is how much do we give AI permission to do? Right. So
Hmm.
how much of my data, which is the major restriction and frankly risk that everyone's saying across the board is, do I want AI getting that deep or do I want to have it be a consult against that data? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's the plus or minus,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. The interesting thing there is that I think the younger generation has much higher expectations around, I expect you to use my data. I expect a more personalized
Yes.
experience. And the older generation's more like, hey, what are you doing with my data?
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
I
And
think going back to your statement about brick and mortar traditional companies, I don't banks or, brick and mortar banks were probably erring aside of call it the older generation.
yeah.
When you got the fintech startups, well, yeah, they'll probably err on the other side. So I think, and we haven't bridged that gap yet. And frankly, I'm not brushing that because I'm on the old generation. So I'm not brushing
Uh,
that at all.
right. 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 It does open up some pretty interesting avenues though, around kind of the disruption that comes from the fintech providers. But with AI, maybe that's now more possible for the kind of more traditional financial services companies to essentially be fintech companies too.
Right. I mean, I would think that's what they want to aspire and grow up into, to be more like fintech, because fintech can be more mobile. So you can have a fintech agility, but with the grounding and background and stability of a brick and mortar. That would be the
Yeah.
ideal unicorn, right?
Yeah. And so as you think about how AI has, helped Truist, um, would you say that like developer productivity is the biggest benefit so far, or is it more on like code quality, or like how do you think about where it's had the biggest impact?
I think our initial impacts are going to be around their productivity. So their gains of just onboarding into pipelines and not having to do the manual toe gating and processes. I think just getting a developer up and running, a new developer
Yeah.
actually comes
Yeah.
into the team brand new. How can I create him? How can I make him be more productive in 10 minutes so he can
Yeah.
start? I think that's going to be our key.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, especially with a large pre-existing code base. It's hard
Exactly.
for a human to wrap their head around all that. Much easier for the AI to help and
Exactly.
then kind of educate you as you go.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
think that's going to be the key. And then part of that will be the quality and all that stuff. That'll just come as part of your journey down that map, down that road.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we're starting to run out of time here.
Sure, sure.
Maybe one last question.
Yeah.
If you were to say go back in time and talk to yourself 10 years ago, what advice would you be giving to yourself as you kind of thinking about your career and your own personal development? What things would you tell your younger self to work on so that you can be as successful as possible in your career?
Yeah, I would tell myself, and I've actually thought about this recently, I would definitely tell myself that invest your time and education learning in machine learning at the time, because it was the original database management relationship and understanding how things are interconnected. And that'll feed it's the natural logic into what AI is today. So if you can learn that, the principles today, it would be I would be way ahead, honestly,
Yeah.
than I had been.
Yeah. Yeah. That one's a tough one, right? Because that's
Yeah.
almost seeing around corners.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
For sure.
about more on like the personal development side or management side as you're managing teams?
So,
What
yeah, so
skills have you built over time? Yeah.
I've definitely built up, I call it, well, it's kind of two major things is understanding the empathy and the neurology, what did I call it? Neurodiversity. That's what I called it. Neurodiversity of your team. Right. And that has
Yeah.
nothing to do with anything other than how people think and perceive what's in front of them. And
Yeah.
what I've learned over my years is everyone approaches the problem differently. If I ask 5 different people what DevOps experiences, I'll get 5 different answers. None of them's
Yeah.
wrong, but they're different perspective. The other thing is, which I've tried to practice all my life, is understanding change management and how change happens and evolves in an organization. This is not change management from a technology. This is things are changing and how do you flow? How do you pull people with you and understanding the motivations around it? So I've
Yeah.
used that to help me over the last few years.
I think those are two really powerful concepts. They go really well together as well
Yes. Yeah.
because it's interesting. I was thinking about that the other day as a leader on my team. And, we're trying to charge that hill.
Hmm.
Somebody wants to go left and somebody wants to go right. And, sometimes it's like it's okay to go a little to the left if that helps with kind
The
of
ultimate. Yeah.
and helps the team feel like a little more empowered and that they have a little more say in the direction of where things are going. And so I think that neurodiversity is a really important thing to keep in mind because there's not always one right answer to things, and
Exactly.
figuring out a way that helps the overall team be the most productive,
Exactly.
sometimes involves you some flexibility that, as a leader, sometimes no, I just want to go straight to the hill. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, okay, we need to stop over here on the way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this conversation, Charles. It's such an exciting time, and it's clear you're doing a lot of exciting things to help apply AI in the financial services space. So, really enjoyed your time. Thank you
Yeah.
so
Thank you.
much.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this discussion as well. I enjoyed myself.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this conversation, please support our channel by hitting the like button and subscribing. Better yet, share the episode with a friend. I'm Ashley Stirrup with Growth Book. We'll see you next time on the Experimentation Edge.